Welcome in this video of the House of Asian Cinema. So this video is going to be quite laid back. I'm going to recommend you a few South Korean films, recent ones. Why am I doing that? Just because I've been noticing that when I go on some message boards, forums on the internet, I notice that there are always the same kind of recommendations for recent South Korean films, such as the Battleship Islands, the Gangster, the Cop, and the Devil. And in my opinion, these films, even if they are okay, they don't really represent the best that South Korea has to offer in those 2 to 3 years. So I've decided to do this short video to recommend some other films which I think deserves a bit more credit and a bit more recognition. Hopefully that will convince you of watching some of them and have a good time discovering them. So I'm not going to spoil heavily on them. I will just give a quick sum up of their stories and develop quickly about their qualities. So the first one I wanted to highlight is called A Single Rider, directed by Lee Joo-young in 2017, with Lee Byung-hun as the main actor. What is the story of A Single Rider? Lee Byung-hun is playing a kind of rising star in an investment company in South Korea. Unfortunately, the company gets bankrupt, and a lot of little investors also lose the money in the process. So it's a complete crash in his life and in his career. And he decides to go back to Australia, where he had sent his wife and his son to study and to improve their English, and who he had not seen for several months before the events. A Single Rider is a drama, but it's a very, very well-made one. The fact that it's being shot in Australia really brings a different atmosphere into the film, and it brings also another layer because there is the issue of immigration, which is also underlying behind the human drama that the character is facing. It's really well acted, it's well directed, the director really goes to the point. The film is fairly short, so there is not much fat in the film. It really goes to the point, it really follows the character, the main character, and that's really the strength of the film. It doesn't try to do more than it should. It really concentrates on the main character, concentrates on the drama which he's facing, and he does it in a good way. And you really feel for the character, and you really follow the kind of distress he is in. There is a major twist at some point, but I'm not going to tell you. Just follow the main character, just follow the flow of the film, and you will appreciate all the nice touching moments that the film has to offer. The second film I will recommend is A Day, directed by Jo Sun-ho in 2017 as well. I'm sure you are already aware of films like Groundhog Day or Edge of Tomorrow, so this kind of time loop. And A Day is the same principle, but while Groundhog Day was doing it in a comedy way, Edge of Tomorrow was doing it in action, science fiction way. A Day does it in a thriller, investigative, detective story way. It's a film which is really short as well, like A Single Rider, and that's a very good thing because this way it can keep a high rhythm during the whole time of the story. But the story is really smartly done. There are basically 3 acts, and at the end of each act you have a new twist, you have a new information which can send the story in another direction which you didn't necessarily see coming. So there is always some new elements which keep you interested, which keep you awake, and which makes you interested in the story which is being told. I only have a small criticism regarding the last act, the third act, which to my taste is a little bit too melodramatic and sugary, but the 2 first acts have been made so well, you are so invested in the story that it's easy to forgive this kind of more heavy-handed approach for the third act. So despite this little flaw, it's a really good film, really exciting, really smart, and I really recommend it to you. Third film on this list, it's Midnight Runners, directed by Kim Joo-won in 2017. Midnight Runners, it's basically a buddy movie, but it's a smart buddy movie because it doesn't try to apply the usual rule of this kind of genre in a dogmatic way. For example, usually in buddy movie you have the main characters who cannot stand each other for half to 2/3 of the film, and then they become friends, and then they are able to solve the main plot of the film in the last act. This one avoids this kind of cliche. There are two very different characters. There is one who is more intellectual, there is one who is more physical, but they quickly actually get friends, and they have a great chemistry during the whole film, a great relationship which makes you want to see more of their adventures. The film is also quite smart in the way that it deals with its concept. The concept is fairly simple. It's just these two young cops who wants to solve a kidnapping case which they have been witness to. But the smart element of the story is that basically they are going to apply all the things they have learned from the academy, and of course applying them in real situation brings another kind of set of challenge, and there is also a little element of comedy in the way that some of those theoretical lessons are applied to the reality. Another quality which the film has is its action scenes. Actually, the action scenes are really well done. It's mostly fist fights, but they are done in a quite realistic way. You really feel for the characters when they are hit. There is a little bit of Hong Kong cop kung fu film from the 80s influence, but done in a bit more realistic way. Still very well done. Exciting action scenes, good characters that you want to follow, and a well done story with enough little twist and an entertaining aspect to keep you interested during the whole thing. So I really recommend the film for you if you want to have a good time. The fourth film I'm going to talk about had a little bit of a buzz when it was released in 2017. It is Still Rain, directed by Wang Woo-sok. And Still Rain is a political fiction. The story is about Kim Jong-un coming to South Korea to visit the opening of a factory, and he is the victim of a terrorist attack from a Northern Korean faction. And the South has to deal with an injured Kim Jong-un and try to find a way to know what they should do in this situation. And when I did the video about the Kerberos Panzer Corps and I talk about Ilong, the Wolf Brigade, I was very critical about the scenario which was being offered about the reunification of the North and the South, which I thought really made no sense. I have no such complaints about Still Rain. I think the story in Still Rain is very seriously thought. It's really aware of the interactions, of the political dynamic there is between the North and the South, and so that makes for a very believable story about what could happen in this kind of situation between the North and the South. You have all the complex power dynamic that there is a bit, mostly in the South. You have a bit of that in the North, but not too much. And it's mostly in the South what kind of stakes there are in this kind of situation, the interactions between the Americans and the South Korean. All that is done in a very realistic way and is very believable. And that really helps make the film create this kind of mood from the spy thriller from the 70s. It really managed to create this kind of atmosphere. It really managed to create this kind of tension, and it makes for a very well done political fiction story. Another strong point for the film is the fact that we have Kwak Do-won as one of the main actors. Kwak Do-won, it's really an actor I appreciate and I think should get more recognition because he's a very talented one. He's in my opinion, he's on a similar league as Song Kang-ho. But for whatever reasons, probably because of his physical appearance, he almost always played very, very bad guys, real assholes. And he did it very well, but he's an actor who is able to do much more than that. And in Still Rain, he has one of the few cases where he plays a positive part, and he does it very well. And I hope that will start a new trend in his career. Not that I don't like him when he's playing this kind of very bad guys. Actually, he's very good at it, so I really enjoy it. But I would really like to see him have a wider range of parts, and maybe reach the status of someone like Song Kang-ho. A completely different style when it comes to the fifth film I'm going to recommend you, because it is Extreme Job. Extreme Job was one of the biggest success at the box office when it was released in 2019. What is the story of Extreme Job? It's basically a team of cops who has to go undercover in order to solve a case, and to do so they buy a restaurant of fried chicken, and they become the owner of this restaurant, while at the same time trying to solve their case. So as you can see from this concept, this synopsis, it's going to lead to a lot of crazy, stupid situations, which will lead to a lot of comedy situations. And it's very well done on that aspect. All the characters from the team are already a bit special from the start, so when you combine them all together and you put them in this kind of stupid situation, it leads to a lot of funny interactions. And it also has for itself some good action scenes, especially the ending one. Once again, there is a bit of Hong Kong in the 80s influence, with the Korean touch, which I would say is a little bit more realistic, a little less choreographed compared to its Hong Kong counterpart, but still well done, exciting, and a good way to conclude the more comedy aspects of the story. And the film is really delving deep into the South Korean culture. I don't know if you have been already to South Korea, or if you are if you are watching a lot of drama or South Korean films, in which case you are probably aware that South Koreans love to eat fried chicken while drinking beer during the evening. It's really some kind of local tradition, I would say. And Extreme Job really catch this spirit very well, putting it in a more comedic way, add a bit of action, add a bit of funny characters. The whole mix is quite successful, and it really makes for a very entertaining film. Then we have Innocent Witness, directed by Lee Han in 2019. In Innocent Witness, we are following a young girl who has Asperger's syndrome, and who by accident is witness to what seems to be a murder. And so she has to do a testimony to the court. And the main character of the film is the lawyer of the other side, who has to defend the person who is accused of the murder. And of course, the relationship starts building between the young girl and the lawyer. So when it comes to the murder story, it's well done, mix of Hitchcock inspiration and court drama, but the heart of the film really lies in the characters and in the relationship between the lawyer and the autistic young girl. And that's really where the film is very successful, because Lee Han is very good at developing the characters just the way it is. There is a good chemistry between the two actors, and there is the characters themselves are developed just what we need in order to feel for them, in order to relate to them, and in order to get invested in their story. That's really the big good point of the film, and which makes it much better than the average such stories which can be done in South Korea or elsewhere, actually. So Innocent Witness, check it out. And the last one I'm going to recommend you is Svaha, the Sixth Finger, directed by Jung Jae-yoon in 2019. The film is a horror thriller with some fantasy touch. It seems the director really likes this kind of atmosphere, this kind of fantasy thriller atmosphere, because he had directed another film a couple of years before called The Priest, which was basically the South Korean version of William Friedkin's The Exorcist. and he did it fairly successfully. But I think Svaha the Sixth Finger is a better film for several reasons. First, because it doesn't have to be in the shadow of The Exorcist, so he can really do his own thing without this influence. Another thing is that it deals with Buddhist folklore, which brings a novelty aspect compared to most of those films which deal with Judeo-Christian folklore. So that really brings something different to the mix, and it opens a lot of interesting concepts, a lot of interesting ideas which is put in the story. The story itself is a bit hard to catch at the very beginning because we follow 3 different characters, but the more it goes, the more it makes sense, and of course at the end it converges in the same kind of action, in the same story. The film also has enough twist for you to not guess everything which will happen, to keep you surprised, and it does it very well. But the main quality, in my opinion, of the film is really the atmosphere, the tense atmosphere that the director managed to create. It's not just a couple of jump scares there and there. It's really something he managed to keep during the whole time of the film, and it makes it for a much more satisfying experience compared to films which just use and abuse of jump scares. So Svaha the Sixth Finger, if you want something a bit scary, if you want something a bit heavy but still very well made, go check it out. That's it. Here are the 7 South Korean recent films which I wanted to advise you. Have a look, try some of them. Of course, feel free to comment in the section below if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you have some other recommendation you want to give. Don't hesitate to put them below, and I will see you on the next video of the House of Asian Cinema. Take care until then.